So can you tell us about you and your company?
Yeah, my name is Joshua Sullivan. I am the managing partner of Discreet Security Services Investigations, LLC. We are a Maryland-based company about 15 miles outside of Washington, D.C., and we are a private investigations, security, armed and unarmed, executive protection, and a public safety training agency. So we do all of your normal domestic infidelity, stalking, custody kind of cases, all the way to wrongful death, insurance fraud, any other kind of fraud, as well as we do uniform security, plainclothes security, armed and unarmed. We do executive protection for diplomats, C-suite executives, Fortune 500 companies, and everyone in between. And then we also do public safety training. So we do, of course, the security and private investigations training. We do firearms training. We have women-only weekends where we do self-defense, stuff like that, firearms for women. And we also do medical training. So we do CPR, first aid, stop the bleed, BLS for healthcare providers, TECC, TCCC, care under fire, and any other active shooter response type training that goes along with public safety.
Why did you found Discreet Security Services and Investigations?
I've been working in the private field for security, and when I transitioned out of corrections and law enforcement, I've been a volunteer firefighter EMT since I was 16. So I've been around the law enforcement, security, public safety field for a long time. And when I started working for other companies and I worked my way up very quickly to management positions and senior management positions for other companies, one of the things that I found is that a good company to work for is very few and far between. In today's world, there's more people out there trying just to make a quick buck than actually do good and help people. And so I wanted to be a beacon and make a company that stood for the right things, like helping people that need help. And it not all being about the money. So we saw a need for that, and we are trying to fill that need as much as we can.
And this has to do with the question I just asked. Why are you so passionate about safety and security?
Well, I think I'm passionate about the safety and security side of things just because if you look at the world today that we live in, it's different than the world that I grew up in. Especially post 9/11, that's kind of when most of the things in our dynamics in our world changed. And of course, that was based on terrorism. But now we see a whole different type of terrorism as domestic terrorism. The active shootings up until I think it was April 7th, the numbers for 2022 alone came in that there were, I would have to try to find it, but there were already in 2022 an active shooting, which is what is classified by Homeland Security as 3 or more people shot or injured. There was already over 180 incidents in 2022, 400 plus injured, a couple hundred killed. And that's just for 2022. So I think I'm passionate because it's now more than ever, the services are needed. Proper security services, proper training on what to do if something happens and you are around, or how to help after the fact. You look at the New York City subway shooting a couple weeks ago, and there was a video that came out, and there was a meme that went viral, and it was, don't hold your phone, do what this guy did. And the guy had training somewhere, and he put a tourniquet on, like a homemade tourniquet on a person that was bleeding, that got shot in the leg. So the passion comes from, more than ever, everybody needs this training that we give, whether it's the active shooter, stop the bleed, or self-defense in general. And we want to fill that gap that we think is open.
And for people that are reluctant about taking these courses or training, what do you say to those people to try to convince them to come in?
There's a stigma that comes along with self-defense training, security training, stop the bleed training, active shooter response, or survival training. And it's look unfiltered at the world you live in today. If you still think that you don't need the training or you're hesitant, call us. We can explain to you that it's not what you see on TV. Nowadays you see these people on the news that they have an active shooter class, and during the class, somebody comes in with a big gun with blanks in it and starts firing in the back of the classroom, scaring the crap out of people. That's been found to cause PTSD on its own. So what we do is we actually do a methodical approach, but a non-fear approach to any of the classes that we teach. When it comes to stop the bleed, people are like, oh, I don't like blood, or I can't handle blood. Well, that's fine until your child or your loved one is the one that's bleeding and you don't know what to do because the fear of seeing blood, whether it's fake blood, real blood, we have simulators that do things where you can actually stop the bleed in someone's leg in our simulator. And it's realistic, but at the same time, when it really happens, it helps you get over that fact of not being able to do it, so you can help save someone's life. So if you're hesitant, or if you're not sure about it, we would want you to talk to us, because we can explain it in a way that may be better for you to understand. And we can even send you portions of the course so you can see what we're talking about. We have nothing to hide here. We want to get everybody trained as much as we can to be able to increase everybody's survivability factors. So just give us a call if you're not sure.
What are tips you can give to an everyday person to feel safer?
Situational awareness is everything. In our active shooter, we teach the ALIVE program, ALIVE, ALIVE. And part of it is being situationally aware. So for the A is assess. And to properly assess any situation, you have to be aware of the situation. So if you walk in and you see something that doesn't stick out, that's normal, right? So you see something that sticks out as being not in the everyday normal thing that you see, you've already done part of it, right? You've assessed your situation. Hey, that's not right. And that one thing alone could help save your life if something happens, because you've already identified a possible issue. So pay attention to your surroundings. Look for things that don't quite fit in. Look for somebody that, if it's 90 degrees out, is wearing a vest that's bulky, or like a trench coat that's bulky, right? Like little things like that, and taking 5 seconds when you walk into a new place, whether it's a coffee shop, Whole Foods, whatever. Take that time just to look around. And, that's the first and best piece of advice I can give, is if you're aware of your surroundings, you can see things before they happen, and then be able to have a better chance of navigating those situations.
So your company offers more than just security services. Can you give us a rundown of all the services, trainings that your company offers?
Ooh, that's a big one. Let me see do I have one of my flyers somewhere? There's so many. We offer workplace violence contracting. So workplace violence contracting, infidelity, like I said, the domestic cases, so infidelity or adultery, cheating wife, cheating husband, child custody cases, unfit parent cases, stalking and harassment cases. On the investigation side, it's pretty much anything that can be investigated, any fraud, any insurance scams, any background checks, even pre-employment background checks, tenant background checks, due diligence for companies that are about to do a business deal with somebody. We do all of that. We do the executive protection. We work for lawyers doing investigations for criminal defense cases. So, if you or a lawyer has a client, if it's not you directly, that may have been accused of something that you didn't do, and the police did an investigation that wasn't thorough, we can come do our entire investigation on our own as a third party and come up with things that somebody may have gotten wrong. And then the training side, the training side is huge. Between the Live Active Shooter program, our medical training programs, we do everything for care under fire, EMTs, police officers on SWAT teams, stuff like that have to have that care under fire, all the way down to babysitters or someone that just wants to up their ante when it comes to being able to help in emergencies. So, first aid classes, stop the bleed, CPR, all of it.
And what is a memorable moment in your career that you can tell us about?
Well, I think I have a lot of those moments in the fire department. I'm 20 plus years now in the fire department. Some of them as an officer, sergeant, lieutenant. I know on that side, every time we saved somebody from something that was imminent death, that was in itself probably one of the best moments. But career-wise, being assigned to a lot of diplomats and having things potentially go wrong, and being the people that were able to thwart or stop the plan of action from actually taking place. And then just knowing that we changed history, and by doing our job, we changed history. We do a lot of different stuff on a high-end stuff that we don't publicize or put out there. But then even on the regular side of things, being able to help people in the time of need is probably the ultimate memorable moment each time it happens.
And my last question, what do you have planned for the rest of 2022 for the company?
2022 so far has been our biggest year. We've only been around since 2020, at the end of 2020. But 2022 by far has been our biggest year, and we want to keep that going. We want to train as many people as possible on how to survive a active threat situation, both before, during, and after. So that also comes in having medical training like Stop the Bleed, to be able to stop emergency bleeding in any situation. Get more people CPR certified, because the number one killer of people is obviously cardiac arrest, and that can be caused by a lot of different reasons. But at the end of the day, when somebody stops breathing, their heart stops, doing CPR immediately increases their survivability by 40%. So trying to get more people medical trained, and just self-defense in general. The world we live in today, we want people, whether it's armed or unarmed, to be able to defend themselves properly. So just to kind of keep moving on and doing what we're doing, and get as many people trained as possible to be able to navigate the world we live in.